everybody, welcome to Riverside Tai Chi. This is Sifu Jesse Powell, and I just wanted to talk about giving advice to people. Giving advice is not an easy thing to do when you're in the position of an instructor, a coach, Sifu, whatever you want to, any position where you're imparting knowledge to somebody else and giving them different types of advice on how to do things. It's not easy. It's not an easy task, and I'm sure it's not easy on the part of the student or the person asking the advice, because they're in search mode. They're looking for something. They're hungry. They feel that they have something missing, and maybe you can give it to them. So I always try and be very careful when I'm giving advice to people, because it may not be for them. It may not be the right thing for them. Certain things that work for me. I'm not a tall guy, so I do, particularly with martial arts, I do things that suit the short man. Can't fight like a tall man if you're not tall, so you got to fight the way you fight. So advice for somebody 6'2" probably might not be the best for them. So it's difficult. Can I think like a tall person? Maybe, maybe not. But that's neither here nor there. You have to be careful the advice that you give, and those receiving advice have to be careful of the advice they accept. Now, here's a famous piece of advice from one of the most famous martial artists on the face of the earth, Bruce Lee. Right? You've heard of Bruce Lee. Heard of Bruce Lee? Everybody's heard of Bruce Lee. Okay. I'm going to paraphrase because, I haven't looked at his book in maybe about 20-something years or whatever. I probably just looked at it once in Barnes & Nobles or whatever bookstore was around back in the 80s. But, you throw away what's useless and you use only the things that are useful. Now, that sounds like really good advice. You don't want to be practicing, some garbage that is useless, right? But who's to say what is useless? There's a difference between something that's difficult, something you can't do or are having trouble doing, and something that's useless. Now, there are people in the internal martial arts, specifically, let's talk about internal martial arts, who they don't practice their standing meditation. They don't practice standing Qigong. They don't stand. Whatever you want to call it, Qigong, meditation, stance work, stance training, they don't do it. Why? Because they believe it's not going to help you fight. And it's difficult. It's not easy. But that is the main part of internal Kung Fu, is standing. That's the basics. That is your structure. That is your foundation. If you don't have, you can't skip the foundation because you don't think it's useful. You think it, you don't understand it. So let's just skip it. Let's cut it out. I don't see the use for this, so I'm not going to do it. That leads you into the situation that we have today, where internal Kung Fu practitioners can't fight because they don't have a structure. You can't always take somebody else's advice and use it for your own thing if you don't understand the thing that you're doing in the first place. So, you have to be careful. That seems like a really good piece of advice. Throw away what's useless, only practice what's useful. But you're going to need some experience and a lot more study and in-depth training before you can really decide what's useless and what's useful. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't come across anything Maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody else could come up with something, but I haven't come up with anything in the internal martial arts that's useless. Can't speak for any other styles, but that's my take on it. You know, just got to be careful. Watch who you listen to, and if you're in the position of giving advice, if you're in some type of position of authority or an instructor, coach, be careful. Think carefully about the advice you give, because it could shape somebody, may shape them the wrong way. So just think about it. Talk to you soon. Train smart, train well.